South African Airways is on its knees and requires another bailout from government. SAA hasn't filed financials for the past 2 years, but among the documents sent to the Standing Committee on Public Accounts were draft financial statements. This shows SAA suffered a loss of 5.4 billion rand last year, and there's another loss of 5 billion rand this year, further deepening its financial crisis. Government has recently given the national carrier 5.5 billion rand and has agreed to pay off 9.2 billion rand of its debt. SAA is insolvent and it doesn't have the working capital to fund operations in the near future. To keep trading, it needs 2 billion rand, and it's been unable to raise the cash from commercial banks. Devin Murugan, Johannesburg.
All right, let's discuss this further now. Aviation expert and the editor of SA Flyer, Guy Leach, joins us on South Africa Night tonight via Skype. Guy, good evening to you. So just a short time ago, as we were saying before we went to air this evening, a statement from SAA refuting speculation that it's about to be put into business rescue. Whatever the case is, there is mounting pressure, surely, on the airline.
Yeah, hi, Jeremy. Nice to meet you, Rebecca. I think that the control is fully in the hands of the shareholder, and whether they're actually going to capitulate, as it were, to the immediate financial necessities and either give the airline a further cash injection or underwrite further loans from the banks. It's been running around cap in hand to the banks. We know that from today's reports, but in fact it's been doing that over the last couple of months because in fact, it does it continuously, but right now it needs another 2 billion rand. Normally, the banks are very keen to provide this sort of loans because there's nothing better than a government guarantee. It just shows how parlous the state of the industry is. But my view on the current situation is that they will not allow the airline to go to the wall, at least not under these terms right now. I believe that they will continue to drip feed the airline until they can find a way of disposing of it.
And that's the key question, that all of this has got to be put in place, surely, before any equity partner is going to be interested.
And even that is a very long shot. How do you interest somebody in buying a share, at this stage a minority share, in an airline that is completely insolvent, that its assets are far outweighed by its liabilities, that is known for government interference? It's an extremely difficult task to bring in an equity partner. There's a better chance of doing a joint venture. Ethiopian was touted recently. A lot more progress was made a few years ago with Emirates. Those are real possibilities, and it would be a relatively simple matter to enter into an agreement whereby the other joint venture partner has operational control.
At some point, Guy Leach, the unions have surely got to be brought around the table, brought into line, and told that whichever way this goes, job losses are inevitable.
Absolutely. But I think that we're now beginning to see signs that the major Labour factions within the ruling party are beginning to lose their own enchantment with SAA, their own commitment to the airline. It was pointed out by Minister Mboweni, I believe, that the subsidy of SAA, or the continued support of SAA, comes at the support or at the cost of support for basic transport services, such as, for instance, trains that are reliable and run on time and are safe. And I think that really has gone to the heart of the problem. And unions are now saying, well, actually, maybe SAA must just be allowed to find its own way, and we must stop subsidizing the rich with essentially workers' salaries and taxes and so on. I'm sensing a groundswell here. It may be too early to see a complete change here, but just the fact that effectively the unions, that is the cabin workers union and the metal workers union, capitulated. They gave up on their demands for 8% and allowed in all sorts of what-if clauses to be built into their agreement. In other words, we'll only pay you if we have the money later on. That looks like a capitulation to me. So I suspect that Labour's teeth have been pulled on these matters.
We've got the Standing Committee on Public Accounts, Scopa, meeting with the airline tomorrow, ostensibly, in its words, to gauge the situation. What's all that about? Is that simply window dressing?
Not at all. It's actually extremely important to remember that SAA was supposed to present to Scopa last week, and they simply said at the very last minute, sorry, we're not coming, which was a huge slap in the face for Parliament. And after all, it's Parliament who has to approve the funds to keep SAA afloat. So this was extraordinary brinkmanship by the airline. But the reality is that the airline is still not able to present itself as a going concern to its auditors, and this raises the spectre of directors trading recklessly, which you mentioned in your introduction. So I think it's extraordinary that Scopa is now coming to SAA rather than demanding SAA come and see them. But I think it continues to show commitment, even though we're not hearing it, on the part of government to keep the airline going until a better, perhaps longer-lasting solution that can be found than simply allowing it to be buried under the mountain of debt at this particular stage.
One senses that there is going to be a development on this particular issue within the next 24 hours or so. Guy Leach is the editor of SA Flyer magazine.